Hi, this is Kurt with Friendly DevOps, a channel dedicated to DevOps and Linux related news. Today I want to talk about the Steam Machine. I decided not to formulate my thoughts immediately after the initial price information dropped, but ultimately it isn't positive. For anyone that knows me and knows this channel, knows that I am not a fan of Steam. I won't be going over that again today. However, for me, the Steam Deck and Steam Machine were great propaganda tools for Linux adoption. I cannot disregard the hype and increase in interest for Linux after the release of the Steam Deck, especially since the system was fully open, allowing for the use of any launcher the user wanted. It proved that Linux gaming was viable. It led to another wave of switch to Linux videos, and I feel it had a tangible impact in the increase of Linux users. It was my hope that the Steam Machine would have provided a similar but greater impact. Handheld PCs are a niche product and have limited appeal. From the reports I have read, the total number of Steam Deck sales range from 3 to 5 million. For some, that might be impressive. I doubt very much that I will be able to sell 3 million of anything, but in terms of consumer products, it is not significant. But mini PCs is a line of products that are gaining popularity. I myself have 3 throughout my house for many different purposes. If priced correctly, I am certain that there would have been millions of people willing to pay a premium to have a small form factor PC that they could store underneath their television. That was my hope, that the Steam Machine would have debuted for around $700. Before I talk about the reality of the Steam Machine situation, I'm going to indulge myself by speaking to what I saw the Steam Machine's potential impact on the growth of Linux adoption could have been. It was my hope that a reasonably priced Steam Machine would go on to sell 10 to 20 million units over the next 3 years. Again, relatively insignificant when compared to the unit sales of products like the Switch or PlayStation 5. But I believe that it would have been significant enough for anti-cheat developers to start providing Linux-compatible solutions to their software. Along with the simultaneous release of SteamOS and hopefully an increased adoption in Bazzite, many laptop and PC manufacturers would follow suit and create copycat devices with SteamOS pre-installed. That would be a turning point in Linux adoption and may have resulted in professional software vendors porting their products over to Linux. But at this point, that is just a pipe dream. With the price of the Steam Machine, it is essentially a non-starter. The fact that most PC enthusiasts can build a more powerful PC for cheaper was always going to be the case. That doesn't really dissuade me from seeing the viability of the product. However, based on the interview of Valve executive by its Gamers Nexus, it was stated that Valve had no contracts with the RAM hardware vendors for the Steam Machine. I might be reaching with this assessment, but to me it means that the total shipment amounts were less than 1 million and that Valve has less confidence in the Steam Machine than I did. Even with the AI price gouging of RAM, all the major PC vendors could easily produce a Steam Machine equivalent for a significantly lower price. That is because they buy RAM in bulk, have a long-running relationship with RAM manufacturers, and have multi-year roadmaps. While Valve is new in the hardware space, I would have thought that their experience with the Steam Deck would have at least taught them a few worthwhile lessons. I can't really say too much more about that because I work on the software side of things and my speculations won't amount to much. With that said, I'm going to move on to talking about the SteamOS. With the PC market being as expensive as it is, I expect that the only ones interested in the SteamOS will probably be existing PC owners. And since SteamOS is locked to AMD hardware, the range of adoption will be limited since Nvidia still rules the PC space. As for the copycat vendors, I don't really see anyone trying to push into that space. We already have an abundance of mini PCs, and none of the major computer manufacturers have bothered to enter that market. Until Valve is able to validate that the Steam Machine is a viable product, I think that they'll stand back. So my initial speculation of seeing the SteamOS leading to a groundswell of support for Linux is pretty much dashed. All that is left is my hope that the SteamOS becomes a viable distribution for Linux gaming. I personally haven't tried it out yet. I have a mini PC over in the corner that is running Windows so that I can play Rocksmiths and Clone Heroes. I was having a miserable time getting Rocksmiths to run well on Linux, so I just gave up. I might revisit that in the future, and if I do, I will probably try SteamOS, if not Bazzite, and the system is an AMD APU, so it is compatible. I'm sure a couple of people out there may take issue with the title of this video, calling it the tragedy of the Steam Machine. They may believe my analysis was lofty and that I was out of my depths in my observations. Fair enough if you believe that. But I feel it was a tragedy because, based on the impact of the Steam Deck, it would be safe to assume that Valve would have had a significantly greater impact with a less niche product. And understand that my interest in the Steam Machine is entirely selfish, as ultimately I don't actually care about either the product or the distribution powering it. I am a Linux enthusiast. Linux literally changed my life, so anything I see that would have a positive impact on Linux adoption is something that I'm going to support, whether that be rhetorically or financially. Thank you very much if you made it to the end of this video. I really appreciate it. Before I go, I want to ask you to like, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, take care.